This is EBS TV Reloaded.
The other stations are tuned in too.
It's Daybreak. Do I say Daybreak? It's Issues and Answers on EBS television. And this morning we'll be looking at impending food crisis, the way out. My name is Josephine Eimi. But before I introduce my guests this morning, I just want to give you a brief of what we'll be looking at. There have been concerted warnings by some organizations on the looming food crisis in Africa and other developing countries. The signs of food crisis is glaring at us, because if you go to market daily, you have this full experience of what we are talking about. Things are very, very, very expensive, and sometimes we don't even get some of this food to buy any longer in the market. What are the causes? What is the way out? All right, that's what we'll be looking at this morning. But before I will introduce my guest, there's a story I want you to see. Let's hear.
A visit to major markets and commercial centers in Benin metropolis shows that prices of all food items except ogbolo has skyrocketed. It was observed that a carton of scubian fish, which sold for between 13,000 naira to 17,000 naira, now sells for as high as between 35,000 naira to 45,000 naira, depending on the variety. As a result, a medium-sized scubian fish, which before now went for between 400 to 500 naira, now sells for between 1,000 naira and 1,500 naira. Even sellers cannot boast of consuming what they sell to avoid losses.
But this one is 800 for my hand. If another person will not buy Melissa, buys scubian, it's 1,005.
How much are they selling?
I dey buy this one now, 35,000. But I said buy 18,005. 35. Harry before, it's 18. Now, 17,005. I'm not happy. I dey sell feed today. I know if you chop one. I feel sell feed, I go buy sell feed 200.
For meat, sellers complain of daily losses.
I want to make help also, because the one I said yesterday is not correct. 3,000 I come out yesterday. The one I said on Tuesday, I shot 100 naira with expenses. The other one I shot 8,000 naira. That one I want to feed my children.
Other food items, including spices, are not spared.
What amount of money you carry go market, we go reach to take back. The tomatoes now, before now, this one we dey buy at 250, sell 300. But now we go buy 450, sell 500. It's too high. For ogbolo now 700. The price of that one don't still come down small. Before we dey sell 1,000. Now we.
All right, the discussants will be looking at this impending food crisis, the way out. We have Wisdom Elder. He is a public analyst and executive director of Agricap. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me.
We have Pastor Richard's Ben with us. She's a mother. She goes to the market. At least she'll have a better idea what we're talking about. Pastor Richard's Ben in Masrin, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And we have retired permanent secretary and former program manager Edo EADP, Malam Alasa Ikelewa. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, viewers.
All right, let me start from Malam Ikelewa. When we talk about food crisis, what are we really looking at?
Well, we are looking at a situation when the food security at the household level and the national level is compromised. That is to say, food is not available to every person who wants it. Either the food is not available physically, or because it is also inaccessible as a result of lack of money. So in a situation like that, you find all sorts of issues. It's a crisis. So it's a situation where food cannot be available, cannot be accessed by every person who wants the food. can only be accessed by very, very few.
Very, very few.
Yes, so scarcity will create a very high demand, which will push the price up very highly as well. So that is the crisis that we are talking about. And we really have been talking about this problem for a long time.
Yeah.
The people who are most vulnerable to food crisis are children below the ages of 10, because they are, at that time they are developmental stage. You'll be surprised that their mental and physical growth can be destroyed for life. So when you now started giving them very good food later in life, you can no longer recover the damage that has been done. Food crisis and insecurity is also extremely detrimental to the elderly, because as you are getting old, your immune system and many things very detrimental to the elderly, and also very detrimental to pregnant and nursing women.
So it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So pregnant women, in fact, the development of the child, from what we know in biology, start from pregnancy. So if the pregnant woman was not well fed, there's no way you can get a strong and healthy generation. So when we are thinking about people to win Nobel Prize in future, people to become great scientists, great doctors, great pastors, great leaders, one way or the other.
Politician.
Great politician. You will start from the very beginning. That is by ensuring that the pregnant woman is well fed.
All right, thank you.
And ensuring that the young children are also well fed. So you are now laying a solid foundation for a country that will be very, very
healthy and strong. Wisdom Ada, it has been discovered that the war between Russia and Ukraine is contributing to the increase in the prices of food items, especially grains, because the two countries are one of the major importers of grain. Am I correct, sir? Yes, sir, you should know better. So, and the war is still raging. What can we do to ensure, as far as this war goes ahead, there is food in our own country?
All right. Thank you very much. The issue of Ukraine and Russia, before the war started, I think in Nigeria we have been having an increase in price of food items.
But it's more now.
Yeah, most of the food items that we're referring to here are not imported food items. We're talking about local food items. Now, there's something that happened. Let me digress a little bit in the Bible. There was famine in certain parts of the world, and then Egypt had to store food. The period they had enough, they stored food, and then when the famine came, they had enough and they started selling to other nations roundabout. Now, Nigeria has everything, so I don't think Nigeria should rely on the crisis from any other part of the world.
Well, they get fertilizer from there also that we need to grow our crops.
Okay, can we go down and let's go practical? Mm-hmm. How many state governments have practical program for agriculture? When I mean practical program, I mean hectares of land that are being cultivated and then that are being farmed, especially to reduce the rate of food scarcity in the state. How many local governments also have such a plan? How many incoming presidential candidates or how many political parties have plans to make sure that there is enough food? Because we have the population to buy, we have the land to farm, we have all the mechanism, we have the manpower, but we don't have the mindset. Our mindset, our understanding has left agriculture. We have left the potentials that can be gotten from there. Look at some of these countries you mentioned. Their revenues that they generate from agriculture is far much more than the revenue we generate from oil. Now, but our minds are on oil because some of the people who are there are just fixed on how to make the immediate money, not knowing that agriculture is a very, very major wealth generating venture. It is. So how many of our leaders have maybe 10,000 hectares of land that they have already mapped out for a state, and then work is ongoing there. You channel your budget, you channel equipment and facilities there, and then you are making plans on cultivation, you are making plans on processing, you are making plans on pushing these food items into the market. Now, we don't have that. Now, how many financial institutions are behind the plight of farmers? You understand? So we are having this lacuna in coming together to address the issue, the opportunities in agriculture, and the reason for that is because a lot of people are lazy to think. They don't want any other thing. They just want, if somebody is operating POS today, everybody wants to operate POS. If they go to another business, everybody channel. Now they are going to politics, everybody is coming to politics, because that's the reality. So people do not see beyond what any other person is doing to look at the opportunity that can be gotten from these other sectors. And there are various opportunities. What you showed on TV about the cost of the fishes you're talking about, we are still going to river to get fishes, whereas you can produce your fishes in your house. You can inculcate this. We can go on sites around our states and say, okay, this place and this place is where we know the consumption rates of a state, and we know how we are working to make sure we meet that consumption rate. That is efficiency.
Right. Thank you for that. Talking about getting your own feed tree and everything, don't forget the feeds also, and the feed is very, very expensive. Malami Keluwa, Governor Baseki recently said large hectares of land has been gotten in Orion local government area to cultivate cassava, and they're encouraging young people to go there to cultivate. Wisdom Elder was saying just now that most young people don't like going into farming. But is it still feasible to go into subsistence farming these days as against mechanized farming? Do you think it's one of the reasons most people don't want to go into farming these days?
I don't think it's extremely correct to say that young people don't want to go into farming. If you say that they are not having enough incentives to go into farming, I will agree. There are a lot of young people. When I was the program manager of ADP, and when I was a consultant to Polosa, we trained some young people, young militants. They were ready. After they have gone to war, they have done all sort of things. They were brought to us to train. We trained them on rubber, what they can make from rubber. Some of them are doing extremely well today. In fact, what government needs to do, as we have always said, is to provide a facilitative environment that will enable young men to go into farming. When we talk about mechanization, it does not necessarily mean you have to be using tractors. No, that is not. What we are really talking about is technology. Anything that can ease the drudgery, that can reduce the laborious nature of farming. That is what we are talking about. And once they are given this environment, they are, for example, now there are machine-operated weeder now that you can use to weed. One man can weed almost 2 hectares a day, whereas if you are weeding manually, that is the job of about 10 or 20 men. Those mechanical weeder you can put at your back, it's not up to 80,000. So that is one. And two, don't also forget that what government is doing to try to secure land. The first thing in agriculture is land, to have access to land. It is no longer as easy as it used to be to just come to a virgin land and start clearing without somebody challenging that the land belongs to him. You know, it's not unusual because as urbanization is increasing, population is increasing, modernization is increasing, the scarcity of land also increases. Land begins to be more scarce. The awareness become issue. So what government is trying to do now is to ensure that they can acquire some land and put some people there who are trained. The key word is training. The key word is training. By the time these young people are trained, you see, it doesn't need any push. By the time you see, like I was happy that he said, most of people are operating POS, other wants to imitate them. It's like that naturally. Once a business is successful, everybody will want to go there. So that doesn't take anything from
Are you
anybody.
saying farming is not successful? That's why everybody is not going
Yeah,
there?
because the point is that because most of the people go into farming are not trained, they don't have the facilitative environment. No, farming is not like any other industry. There are lots of hazards, there are a lot of challenges in between when you plant and when you harvest. For instance, now, if I take 1 bag of cement and give me some sand, I can calculate the number of blocks that I will make from it. It will not, there will be no change. If I give you a plot of land and give some quantity of maize, you can estimate the number of bags of maize you will get. But in between, there can be flood. In
Pest.
between, there can be disease and pest. In between, there can be, there can be thieves. In between, cows may come and eat up your maize, and so forth and so on. Although the federal government has put in an insurance program in place, Nigeria Insurance Scheme, NIC, but it's not effective because the educational backup, the awareness, the campaign to make the farmers to be aware that they can insure their farm is not there. So you find that somebody can put in so much in a farm, at the end of the year, you may find that there's flooding. At the end of the year, there might be drought.
All right, before I come to Madam, let's talk about this agricultural extension.
Yes.
Do you think we are doing well in this country?
No. In fact, that is the bane of agriculture. That is the bane of agriculture. You see, like in Egypt, there's 1 extension officer to every 500 farm family. A farm family is a man and his wife and children in agriculture. That's what we mean by farm family. In Edo State, we have about 120,000 farm families. That's what we have in Edo State. Now, the World Bank recommendation for agriculture to be very, very effective so that the farmers can have access to education, they can have access to modernization in agriculture, they can have access to modern inputs, they can have access to technology, they can have access to other farmers who are doing better than themselves, they can have access to research output and data, is to have 1 extension officer to 800 farmers. That is the ideal. I can tell you that there's no state government in Nigeria that is close to 1 extension officer to 2,000 farmers. There's none. I'm talking authoritatively because I've been in agriculture in the past 45 years and I have seen consulting. That is the truth of the matter. So I give you a little example to tell you how powerful extension can be. Only last week or so, a friend invited me to go and see a farm. I went to the farm. For instance, the man is rearing a bird. I discovered, for example, that the floor of the poultry was cemented like the one you cement somebody's house, very neat and shiny. And that, if you floor it like that, it will not absorb water. Water will remain on top. And when you put your birds there, you are likely going to suffer from coccidiosis. I said, okay, no, make it rough. I also discovered that, for example, the farm that he had with some palm trees and obono, it was underutilized before he started getting income. Whereas there are some plants that he could integrate with those to get money. Like, for example, I told you he could integrate cocoyam, he could integrate pineapple, he could integrate ginger, because these are plants that are shade loving.
All right.
So I'm only telling you now that simple advice has made a lot of difference
Difference.
between profitability and
that's
loss.
what we lack right
And that's
now.
what we lack. It doesn't cost anything. So,
To
but
train them.
it helps. So, but government doesn't appear to really place much emphasis on extension. Government appears to play more emphasis on infrastructure that can be showcased. That can be showcased. If I buy 10 tractors today, the whole world will see it. Everybody will clap. If I buy 10 bags of fertilizer today, the whole world will see it. But
The
if I
training
say,
of the person.
if I say I've trained 10,000 people, you know, it's very, very
Natural
obvious.
extension.
But that is the KT. Because if an untrained person is given a modern equipment, he will destroy it. If you are if a trained person is not even given any equipment, he will provide one to use.
All right.
So training is of paramount importance.
All right, we'll come to that, but let me come to Pastor Richard's then. You've been going to markets every day, at least sometimes most of us go to market. Do you think that these high prices of food items we are seeing is being caused by, like, okay, insecurity, transportation, or there's this artificial scarcity most women are also doing to get quick or bigger profit from the business?
Well, let me talk like somebody that go to market to buy. But if I was a seller, if I'm somebody that's selling the market, or I go to buy some of these goods that women buy and they bring to market, I think I was okay. I even had an experience. But I have heard some of these women talk and they complain that there's a part they go to buy goods and they're able to have access to that area. The goods will be cheap at the end of the day while selling, and as we speak, they can't access that area because of insecurity, and that affects prices. And then I'm equally seeing instances where I go to market and I see women that are selling. A woman that is selling product worth how much is given how many tickets. I've equally seen, I've heard instances because I do shows a lot on TV and radio. I remember one day I was in Lagos, a woman called me from Ramat Market. She thought I was on a live show. And she was like, hey, please, so you EBS, you people need to help us. You people need to help me. I sell. And it's not that I have so much money, but somebody just came now and said I should remove my load there, that I have not seen the head of the people in charge of selling, so I cannot sell. The woman was crying and I told her, oh, I'm not even around. Why am I bringing all these instances? These are things that are contributing to high in prices. Somebody will come and say, okay, as a housewife, I want to do something to support my husband. And then, oh, let me sell a particular product that I see my mate selling.
Goods from your village.
And then you take step and go to market and they say, no, you can't sell. Oh, go and see so and so person. If they give you, go ahead. That's where you can sell. Or you even bring things. So, okay, let me sell. They say, no, you cannot sell. Have you registered? All these are things, if we don't check them, we have insecurity. We have human insecurity. People that will come, you say, okay, I want to start market. They say, okay, have you followed the protocol? And we have been talking and talking. Government, please put people in charge of these things so that these people will say, okay, we are here, you can meet us. Like that woman that was calling me and calling. I'm not used to the people who are, you have markets, so is this market association and all of that.
Trade union.
Trade union. These people should sit up to the game so that, listen, what we have been saying is that every functional society have homes that are functioning well, have families that are doing well. If we have scarcity, like one of us rightly put, children are not able to eat well, wife cannot even provide food, you take how much to market. The thing is like methylated spirit. Go to market. Fill your bag with money, go to market, I want to buy this. At the end, you come back with just a little nylon bag and you like, what happened to all that money? So if all these things continue, we can't have peace in homes. Because a woman seeing the child starving, no food, and then you say the next year an idea come, why I think I should enter into river and cross. You will see women that will abandon their children because they are looking for greener pasture. So it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. We have to see how to check these things. Both the other guests are talking about how to make sure that agriculture becomes something that everybody, like you're looking at me, I'm a farmer. I'm saying it for the first time. But the people like, this woman that is dressed like, yes. I'm coming from a family that farm animal, we're much into animal farming. We farm fish, we're into fishery, we're into poultry. As we speak, I am farming. And I discovered recently, because somebody was saying Turkey and Ukraine and Russia. I don't know. God will help us. Let's stop looking outside. Let's look inward. I didn't know this until I started. I just had some birds, and then I took step into poultry. And so we use this sawdust. Because of there's a stage the birds get to, you use sawdust so that it can absorb their droppings. And then at the time I was like, hey, what will I do with all this sawdust? Because I don't want it to become nuisance. And somebody came begging, please, can you give me your sawdust? I need them in my farm. Yes, the woman said, she came with, packed all of them. She said, with these things, my crops will be very healthy. They will be, and I was like, hey, please, let's do butter. So you take my dung, you bring your crops for me. She said, yes, I will do that. I'll bring crops for you. Yes. What are we saying? All right. Yes. We have what it takes to make Nigeria an envy to other nations. Everything is here.
All right. Talking about, let me just clear this aspect. When we talk about Russia and Ukraine, they are one of the great exporters of fertilizers, and most of us, we need these fertilizers in our farms. I'm talking about the union. I need to clear that also. Edo State government recently, during one of this program, they said they are looking into it, and soon as the union activities will be controlled. That is cleared. So let me come to wisdom here now. Nigerians will like foreign goods. Anything that is shining, will like it.
Like bling bling that
bling bling, yeah. If there is tomatoes, somebody just prepared it at home and give it to you, you will not take it. But the one that comes from maybe abroad and the plates or whatever the container is so beautiful, you prefer it. This kind of attitude, when we prefer outside goods to our own, don't this attitude discourage most farmers to go into proper farming or packaging of their items?
Okay, I think I started by saying our orientation has to really be given serious attention. And then if people are still interested in foreign goods, it's because of their level of orientation.
That's it.
Now, people do not understand that it takes a lot of preservatives to secure some products that come in from outside the country. And people do not understand that the nutritional values that are in the local products are more. Like, take for example, you go to the market and you see the foreign rice and you see the local rice, and they tell you the foreign rice is more expensive than the local rice. I would just be laughing. Ordinarily, if you give me the foreign rice for the cheapest amount, I will not go for it. That's the truth, because I have understanding of the nutritional value of the local rice. The rice that comes from outside the country has been processed. A lot of things have been removed to produce other substances. That's the oil and all the rest of them, and it has been parboiled and preserved. So that is not actually the kind of food item that your body needs. I'm telling you with authority, that is the truth. Some of the preservatives that are used for some of our food items in a higher quantity are hazardous to our bodies. That is the truth. So most people do not understand that your local tomato, your local rice, fish, your local okra, your local everything, and eating these things at a very less prepared, less boiled stage is very, very healthy to our bodies. Let's backdate. If you go back, you realize that our fathers, our ancestors, they lived longer. You understand? They lived longer, and then they lived healthier. there were no traces of some of these diseases that you see rampant all over the world.
They trek
now.
a lot also.
Yeah, and they trek a lot. And then why? Because these people had access to the natural food. They have their yam at the back and they will roast it. These are ways to enjoy things in a very good, healthy manner. They have the vegetables, they will prepare it, and then everything they will do it, and the meats, they will get it just very close by, and they live like that. There are people who are living like that in Nigeria. They are very comfortable, but they are living. There are people in Nigeria that hardly go to the market to buy what they will eat. I'm telling you the truth. They are very comfortable. It's not poverty. They are wealthy, they are rich, but they hardly go to the market to buy what they will eat. Everything about them is just within their enclave. There are people who are like that here. So people have not come to understand that some of the things you go and get your pizza, get your this, where does shawarma and not the rest of them. Now you leave the one that is naturally prepared for you, and you want to go for the others. So these are the traces and causes of some of the major health challenges that we are having. So we should
do our African things.
Everything is natural. We have the best. See, you need to see the places they prepare some of these products that are coming from outside the country. You need to see how they prepare it. You understand? How they fertilize it. Some plants that should take, let's say, 4, 5, 6 months and can just take like 2 weeks. So it lacks adequate substance. Even some eggs, I was watching where they are trying to manufacture a kind of device that can be produced, that can be bringing eggs. Are you getting it? You cannot compare that to the eggs of the bird, natural bird. So there are traces of things that even in those countries, some people are not even allowed. They are talking it. Recently, they are saying some things about people's rights to access to the right food, and then some substances that have been allowed in the past that are very hazardous. Now, there are so many that have been allowed and approved in the past that are very, very hazardous. And I want to say something about regulation. We need to step up on regulating the price of commodities. We need to step up on that.
All right, I'll stop you there, because when we're looking at the way out recommendation, we talk about it. Malam Ikelu, I was talking about how some crops that are supposed to take like 6 weeks will not take like a week. Do you have something to say about, maybe it's a new form of technology? Do you have something like that?
Well, yes, there are development, a lot of development in science anyway. We call it tissue culture. Okay. When we get, tissue culture, it's possible to reduce the gestation period of any crop.
But not GMO.
For example, in those days, they used to tell us that anybody who plants bitter kola cannot eat it. He would have died, because the gestation period of bitter kola was that long, about 30 years, and maybe as an adult you must be 50 before you plant. But with science and genetics and breeding now, you can have the bitter kola that can mature in 5 years. You pluck it. Like for example, even in forestry, we have tissue culture now that can reduce the gestation period of Iroko maturity from 100 years to 10 years. You start harvesting your timber. These are development in sciences. It has nothing to do with tissue culture. But however, the point that we are making is that, which two of them have made, is that if people should not be hungry. And this one still boils down on knowledge and information. If people are informed that they can do a lot to be able to plant what they eat. For example, it's very unfortunate that you can see somebody now going to the market to say he's looking for bitter leaf to buy. Somebody goes to the market, say he's looking for bitter leaf to buy. Somebody goes to the market, he say he's looking for ugu to buy. These are things that can be planted anywhere. Even if you don't have a space, they can be planted in poly bags. They can be planted in a cement bag. They can be planted in old buckets. They can even serve as flowers around your houses. And then you get the nutritional value, like you were saying, that you can harvest, cook, and eat. Again, like you see some people are innovative. Somebody who goes to buy a crate of egg for 2,100 naira for his family. If that person was wise and he goes to buy point of lay beds, about 4, and use a small cage for you at the back, and a bag of feed will take them for a month, you find that you'll be making more money, then you also be feeding your family from there. So the idea of self-reliance is totally outside. And the idea of the information, you need to get people informed about many of these things. People are not informed. That's the truth. That's why extension, you see, even in the United States, in Germany, even in Israel, which are extremely advanced in agriculture, extension is still the #1 priority.
So government should give credence to that
yes,
aspect.
because the reason why extension is #1 priority is that the world is advancing. The world is advancing. Like for example now, I myself, as an example, I produce seedlings for people to sell. I thought I had reached the zenith of the knowledge, but when I was interacting with some of my colleagues outside the country, I discovered now, for example, that there are some tree crops that you can, there's a technique that some tree crops you can plant them through, not tissue culture this time, but stem manipulation. In 6 months, they can start fruiting.
All right,
like
there's not much time, but there's so much to learn concerning these aspects you're talking about. But briefly, before we go, I want to talk about preservation. You go to the market daily, you see a lot of items, wasted tomatoes, pepper, okra, whatever. Do you think we are doing well in the aspect of preservation in Nigeria?
You know, preservation comes in 2 ways. You have the cold chain preservation, the cold chain. Then you have dry preservation. What causes the bowel degradation of a food item is mostly bacteria. Most bacteria cannot survive at very, very cold temperature, and they cannot also survive at high temperature, generally. Only very few bacteria that can survive on heat. Those are thermophilic bacteria. And only very few, they are not significant, that can also survive. So, for example, we are talking about cold chain. There are, like people have been saying it over the years, that if, for instance, there are trains that the whole system is freeze. All these tomatoes, meat from the north, you can freeze them and bring them here. People continue to buy. Then you can also educate your people. For example, those who do not have, those who cannot freeze, you can grind these tomatoes, grind them, parboil, and dry. You can use them for years. They provide the same nutrients. So what people are not aware of is that the wetness of a crop, that's not where the nutrient lies. The wetness, most crops contain about 70% water. Like tomatoes you are seeing, it's about 70 to 80% water.
So you can dry it and it's
not water, it's not the water you need.
It's the dryness.
The dryness, the vitamins and the minerals are contained in what is left after water.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you. Talking about regulation, briefly, just say something about regulating of goods that come into the country.
All right, I think there are bodies that are actually functioning, but we need them to step up with the standard organization and of Nigeria, and then there are so many other bodies that also used to handle regulation of prices, and we actually need leaders who have become politicians to understand that some of these things are very, very important to the common man, more than some other maybe bigger promises or bigger projects or flyovers and all the rest of them. So things can be regulated. The Standard Organization of Nigeria can come into some pricing, and then we need to know when things change like this suddenly. People need to know the reason behind the sudden change of prices in the market. But these days we don't really hear the reason behind it. We just go there and meet it, and then we just bring out our money, and then we'll go ahead. So our leaders, our governors, everyone should be more interested about how these things now become what they have finally become. Then security actually is affecting. That's why Nigerians, we need to be very careful how we continue the next phase of politics. We need to be very careful.
We need a secure land so that we have enough food.
We need serious security.
Right.
Without security, our farmers will not go to farm, and then it will tell on supply, and then the demand will still keep increasing, and then the price will
All right, thank you for that. Pastor Richard's been concerning most women right now that are finding difficult to take care of their family.
Whatever you're doing as a woman, even if you're a career woman, if your education needs, whatever you're doing, you're a beautician, it doesn't stop you from farming. It doesn't. You can do something. It won't, it's not written on your forehead. You can, like what you just heard, I'm sure you heard that the eggs we run to buy, you can just buy what is called at point lay. That's the layer now. They are grown. They are laying. You just get their food, give them, and you'll be getting eggs. And that now, with you get your eggs, you get meat at the end of the day, and then you replace it just like a bean cycle. And then you can equally do something, plant. I just heard that one. Get a bag, put sand, and then plant something. It could be tomato, pepper, and that one will equally something. Don't buy, well, let me not use that word, don't buy bitter leaf in the market, but you should have bitter leaf by your house. Bitter leaf is one plant I see that grows easily. Just pluck the stem, put it on the ground, and before you know, it's already growing. You can do something to kill that hunger in your life.
All right, thank you so much. We've been looking at impending food crisis, the way out. We have Wisdom Eda, is a public analyst and the executive director, Agrica. You're welcome. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you for having me.
Malam Alasai Keluwa, retired permanent secretary and former program manager, Edo ADP. Always a delight to have you, sir.
Thank you.
Pastor Rich Rosebain Imaswe, a marriage counselor, a mother, and the one that always go to the market for the Thank you. This program, we keep talking on it about the looming food crisis till we get it right in the society, because food is very important. We all eat to live, so we cannot take away food matter from us. My name is Josephine Eimi. I want to thank my producer, Enobakari Godwin, for his contribution, and Audio Nodiwi also. From me here, thank you for staying with us, and do have a productive day ahead.
This is EBS TV Reloaded.
The other stations are tuned in too.